All right, guys, this is going to be a call out to Alex Botten. Just for you, I'm going to be in here by myself for a little bit, see if you show up. Sending you the link right now. We'll see how long this takes. I came home early, very early actually. I think it's only like getting close to 5. So, uh, no excuses. Let's show you guys something. This is how desperate it seems like this guy's trying to get away from our discussion. Right here, this guy just completely made something up, just completely relied right through his teeth. Alex Botten said, "This is just getting funnier. True Talk TV is still demanding a discussion with me." And he gave some sort of link that is actually, I think it's the link for this video that he put on. He says, but appears to have blocked me on Skype in some weird attempt to make it easier for this to be arranged. What are you talking about, Alex? Because over here, I had just sent you the link. You're still here. Nobody removed you. Nobody did anything like that at all. This is one of the most cowardly, dishonest things I've ever seen anybody do. Quit trying to get away from our discussion. You have the link. Come on in here. I'll wait here for a while. If you don't come in within an hour or so, then I'll send the link to other people. Or maybe just end this and start another hangout. Come on, Alex. I know that you got to be online, man. You just left that message not even a couple minutes ago. You got the link in the description. Or in the Skype, and so everybody can see it. So I know. I mean, if you're gonna lie about that and say that I removed you from Skype when I did not do that at all, you'll lie about anything. So I might as well show people the Skype information right now so that people see that you're full of it and that you're lying. Pull it up right here. Okay. Where are you at? Right here. I said I'm going to set this up now. have our discussion. And I sent you the link right here so that everybody can see it. Some of the atheists have been acting with you, uh, that have been coming from your channel and trying to support you. They'll probably just lie and make go against the fact even after I showed it. So, not sure if that actually matters. Be waiting here for like an hour or so for you, bro. There's nobody here but me. You just sent that message over my channel. You have absolutely no reason not to come in here. Came home even earlier, so there's no excuse. I will wait here. It says it's about 4:47 right now, my time. So I'll wait here maybe till uh, maybe 5:47, something like that. I'll give you about an hour or so. You ain't gonna show up, are you, Alex Botten? Is you're scared? Come, man. You were just messaging on that comment section earlier, man. Just a few minutes ago. I know you're online, and I know you got to be listening to what I'm saying, man. Come to this discussion. Let me pull something up so you guys can see what I'm talking about. Hmm. Did you remove your comment or something, man? And they probably did right after I called you out. That's how you're a little. You kind of lie a lot, don't you, dude? Guess that's what I'm gonna have to watch out if you do man up and come into this discussion. Hmm. Oh, here it is. I found it. Screen share this. Right here. When was this? This was 23 minutes ago. I just refreshed the page. So you got to be around, man. I'll stick around here for a little bit just to make sure you come in. Oh, here you are. So, Alex, why are you going around saying that I'm removing you from Skype, man? Alex, got on mute.
Oh, Hangouts work, Ronnie. Give me a moment. If it shows pending, Ronnie, it usually means that somebody's blocked you. That's my experience with Skype. And that's my experience with Skype over several years. So
yeah, but the way that you phrased it was like I'm removing you from Skype so that I can have a discussion with you.
Now, have you blocked me? Did you block me?
No, I didn't block you. That's why I'm wondering why you said that.
Why did it come up?
What's the issue
then? Which is
I don't know why. I don't know why it's coming up.
Well, okay, in that case, it's a red herring, isn't it? So, give me a minute.
Well, it's not a red herring because you shouldn't go around saying stuff like that. It's dishonest. It's lying.
Yeah, okay, let's face it. You had a hangout the other day where one of your pals said that I was Satanist and that I worship Satan. Is that any different?
No,
give me a minute. Anyway,
to
get myself sorted.
No, you just want to blow that off, huh?
What's that?
Okay. So you just want to blow that off, huh? Okay, take your time.
Blow what off? What am I blowing off?
What I'm saying is don't lie about me anymore, man.
Well, don't lie about me. Back in a minute.
No one's lying about you. You don't go around saying that I'm blocking you from Skype when I'm not doing that. You're fabricating stuff. You're making stuff up. Take your time, man.
So let me just check. Are you getting any feedback from me?
Getting feedback from me, and my connection seems to be fine.
Yeah. Okay, I'll plug headphones in. Give me a moment. So I'll make sure that I'm not causing any problems. What's the link to this? Can you post the link in the sidebar? In the chat?
Yes. Yes, give me 1 second.
Thank you.
Okay, Alex, but I'll give you the choice. What do you want to talk about? Intelligent design, evidence from God, presuppositionalism, or...
So what? Could you repeat that?
I said I'll give you the option. What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about the arguments for God, presuppositionalism, intelligent design, or what's the issue with the Bible?
Well, you wanted to talk to me, didn't you? Remember? So traditionally, you should decide what you want to talk about.
Well, it's all of those issues that I've heard you talk about that I sort of have an issue with. The one issue is your approach towards presuppositionalism and arguments for God and the Bible. All three of these things.
Okay, can I have a link, by the way?
Yeah, I was actually doing that right now.
I'll post it a few places so people can see this.
Sure.
I want your word that you're not going to immediately delete this Hangout afterwards.
No, I don't delete Hangouts. There's only one Hangout that I deleted when it was only me and Arcane.
Was that the one where Arcane Truth was saying that birds are rocket powered and they breathe in through the mouth and out through their bums?
No, I think you misunderstood.
No, it's quite clear, wasn't it? Let's face it. He said that they didn't breathe out the same hole they breathed in through.
How did he say?
How he went right through?
I don't know. I don't know exactly how Arcane was wording it, but what's the relevance of that?
He said, well, I was just saying that Hangout disappeared because the way that people have been able to get it is that somebody else uploaded it. Because that Hangout's no longer listed on your channel. Was that the one you deleted?
One of the Hangouts I deleted because it was only myself and Arcane. There was a couple other people, I believe, but it was sort of a boring Hangout.
Never stopped you leaving them uploaded before. So where's this link?
Did I just send it to you?
No, I'm waiting for it to be in the group chat. I'm just looking at the group chat now.
Yeah.
Ah, there we go.
Okay.
Thank you. Okay, let me just copy this, post it out to a few people. Then, people. I mean, do you think the presuppositional argument's a good argument?
Do I think the presuppositional? I think it's a decent argument. I think that it does point at some things that people should take into consideration. I think that it's a very important argument to point some things out that are very serious problems within atheism, but it's not one of my main arguments that I would use.
So, what problem do you think it points out in atheism?
I think the issue of solipsism is a very serious problem.
Outline that for me.
The issue of the minds, the fact that you cannot, there's no objective understanding of truth, but you assume it from your standpoint. Everything comes into question, even the basis of science.
Why do you think the basis of science comes into question?
Well, why do you think that I'm talking about the issue of solipsism when I'm talking about science?
Well, I'm asking you to explain it. I'm asking you to explain why this is an issue, why you think that's a problem.
Well, do you know what? Well, you should know what the problem is if you know what solipsism is. I mean, you know what solipsism is.
It's cynicism of anything other than your own self-existing.
Well, okay. Well, if you're going to try to look at things from an objective standpoint, subjectively, and being anecdotal is going to come to the question.
I'm not.
So, of course, if you're looking at from the standpoint that you're looking at science, especially from the belief system of atheism, if you can't solve the issue of solipsism, then what comes into question? You know, science itself cannot be falsified. It cannot be proven. There's a lot of issues when you're looking at science from a solipsistic standpoint.
But I'm not looking at. I am not a solipsist, so that's irrelevant.
Yeah, you are.
Why do you assume I'm a solipsist?
You're an atheist.
Yeah, but
you are an atheist.
The two aren't the same
not
thing.
A solipsist, well, if you're not a solipsist, answer me how you can answer the problem of solipsism.
Well, I don't have to because I don't see it as a problem.
Okay, so you don't have to solve. Basically, then you're just going to ignore it. You don't have to.
Yeah, because I don't see it as an issue.
That's kind of achieved. Okay, well, solipsism is an issue. If you don't know,
it doesn't concern me. I don't worry about it because even if it were the case, it makes no difference to how I have to live my life. So I don't waste any time thinking about it.
Yes, it does because. Yes,
no,
it does
because you don't
live logically consistent with that.
You try to be answer.
Especially when you're trying to be in a debate and a discussion like this. I mean, you're going to cherry pick when you're going to be logically consistent and when it's convenient for you. Well, then when is it that I should take you seriously? When it's convenient for you to be logically consistent, or right now when it's inconvenient for your position? You don't care, so you're not going to narrow down on it.
Ronnie, either you want me to be honest or you want me to give you sound bites. I'm going to be honest with you.
Okay, well then the honest truth is that from your admission right here, this is how you want to leave it, fine. We'll leave it at this then. From your admission right here, you only want to be logically consistent when it's convenient for you.
No, I'm logically consistent within my own frame of reference, within my own way of living. I am logically consistent to my own satisfaction.
No, you're not.
Yes, I am. Don't tell me what I think.
How are you so?
What I am or am not.
How? Well, you just said that you don't see a problem with solipsism, but you don't care whether or not you have to solve the problem with solipsism.
Because, listen, if you remember what I said a moment ago, I said that I don't see it as being an issue because whether it's the case or not, I have access to a reality that I am experiencing. Now, if that reality isn't real, it makes no difference because I still, from my subjective point of view, exist within it. So I still have to exist. I have to behave as if it is real, whether it is or not. Now I choose to accept that it's real. So it's a non-issue to me. It doesn't worry me.
Well, with all due respect, with all due respect, I don't think that you really understand what you're saying, because think about it like this.
Ronnie, listen, just because you're not getting the answer, look, shush now. Just because you're not getting the answer you want,
I got to respond.
Doesn't mean you can't say what you think.
The answer that you're getting is justifying the statements that you're making is not being understood from the standpoint where it's coming from. So I am obligated. We are having a discussion to respond to it. You can't be defensive and just tell me, well, no, just leave it at that. I want to deal with something else. I have to respond, okay? We're having a discussion. Me and you are having a discussion, both of us from our subjective standpoints, both of us independently from each other with our own minds. Hence the issue of solipsism. From your standpoint, you understand the issue of solipsism, but you don't care because from your own worldview, even though you cannot narrow things down, you don't care because it's convenient for you at the moment. It's, you know, you're just looking at things from your standpoints, from your eyes right now, right? That's what you're saying. You don't care.
No, that's not what I'm saying. You've not understood what I'm saying. Let me clarify for you.
Well, let me finish what I'm saying before you...
Let me clarify. No, because you're labouring under a misapprehension if that's what you think. You are incorrectly thinking that that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that I do not concern myself with it because the outcome, whether I am the only being in existence or whether reality exists, is the same because I have to experience reality that I am experiencing. So it makes no difference to how I live my life. It's the same as hard determinism. I was talking about this with my son earlier today. Hard determinism, that anything that happens was determined by the first moment of time. Means that I have no choice. Let me finish.
It proves my point right there.
No, let me finish. What I'm saying is that even if hard determinism were the case, it makes no difference because I still have the illusion of free will, if it is the case. So I have to live as if I have free will. If I am the only conscious entity in the universe, but am experiencing a reality through my senses that gives me the impression that I'm not the only conscious entity in the universe, I still have to act within the reality that my senses are giving me. That may be incorrect, but that is the only choice I have. So that is why I choose not to bog myself down in the problems about solipsism. Ultimately, it makes no difference to me because I still have to live consistently with what I'm experiencing.
Exactly, but you're not living consistently with what you're experiencing. For example, yourself, from your subjective standpoints, from your observation, from what you're looking at, from your independent mind, you're in this discussion violating and basically almost on borderline of special pleading with our discussion that we're having with each other. So the subjectivity of your mind, there's no way of determining that your mind is accurately perceiving the same things that I am. But while we're in this discussion with each other, independently from each other, if you get what I'm saying, I have my mind, you have your mind, you assume that what you're perceiving through your mind is the same of what I'm perceiving through my mind right here. So the basis of what you're trying to get at, it is special pleading. That's the point. So you're not. So hold on. I gotta finish my. I let you finish your point. I let you finish. Oh, come on with that nonsense. I was very clear. If you didn't understand what, if you didn't, hold on a second. Hold on. Let me finish what I'm saying. If you didn't understand what I was saying, that's not my problem. I will explain it again for you very simply. If you want me to dumb it down, for you, I will. You have to calm down for let me to explain to you.
I'm perfectly calm.
Let me explain. Okay. Well, then, are you gonna let me talk? Are you gonna let me explain it?
I will let you talk, but I will ask you
to start crying for you, okay? So just shut up and let me speak, please.
And let me explain. I'm happy for you to continue talking, but I just want you to try and make sense while you do.
Okay, I'm trying to, but you won't shut your mouth long enough for me to do it, okay? I'm going to mute you and I'm going to finish what I'm saying. The issue with solipsism is this, and what I just brought to your attention was very clear. We have the issue of solipsism. That's why I asked you if you understood what you were saying. You have your mind independently from my mind. Is that clear enough for you to understand that? I don't know how much easier I can make that for you to understand. Your mind, which is independent, exactly, and your mind, what you're looking at from your standpoint, what are you doing? You are subjectively determining reality and assuming that the reality that are objectively interpreting is the same as my mind, independent from mine, assuming those things that you're looking at are going to be the same as mine. Do you get what I'm saying? You are independent from my mind.
But go on.
You are independent from because you don't understand what I'm saying because you don't understand.
Because you never make any sense.
Your mind is independent from my mind. How do you know the same thing that my mind is the same as my mind? Well, no, you don't care about if it's the same as my mind because you're interpreting the thing from your standpoint, which is the reason why when you're saying that you're being logically consistent within your worldview, no, you're not. You're not being logically consistent within your worldview because you don't know if what you're saying is the same thing as me. You assume that to be the case. You're not answering the issue of solipsism. You're putting it under the bed so that you don't have to deal with it. That's what you're doing.
Are you finished?
Yes. Did you understand that?
That was 2 minutes of almost literal gibberish from you, Ronnie. Now, I've explained this to
Alex
you.
Botten, I'm sorry, you're an idiot. You don't know what I'm saying.
I'll let you speak. Well, let me give you an example of something. Let me give you a quote from yourself. Give me a moment, and I'll read it to you. Okay, let me read this. Yes, it's a fallacy of complex questioning. The way that you're using what you're using. You're sitting over here stating that that this is the case, or while if this is the case right here, basically.
Get to the point. I don't want to hear any of this nonsense from another hangout. Deal with the issue of solipsism.
Okay.
Somebody warned me about that you would do this. I want you to pay attention to the. We're talking about one thing. Ad hominem attacks does not count as a response. Come on.
Ronnie, I was just giving you an example of the fact that you actually literally make no sense a lot of the time. We've dealt with the solipsism.
You have no substance, so you're producing ad hominems. Give me something. I was very clear in what I said.
I'm explaining to you that you literally the words you use in the sentences.
You've been refuted, so what you're doing is you're getting defensive. Come on.
No, I'm not getting defensive.
Stay on solipsism. We're talking about solipsism. Stay on solipsism.
I've explained to you that I don't see it as a problem, and I've explained why I don't see it as a problem, because I have no choice but to live within the reality that I am given. So that is my answer. I'm sorry it's not the answer you want, but that is my answer.
Then it comes back down to what I told you at the beginning. You are not living consistent with your reality, and you don't care as to being logically consistent. It's because when we are talking to each other, and this subjective standpoint from yourself and from myself, we don't just, we don't say things like, oh, well, we don't know if this is the case. We don't know if this is not the case. Or since it hasn't been proven to be the case of that we're not in the Matrix or something like that, we don't just appeal to an argument of ignorance fallacy. When we're speaking to each other, we know that we are objectively speaking to each other. And if we cannot understand that when we're engaging with each other, and if we do not understand each other when we're engaging on us being consistent in this discussion, and we're talking to each other right now, how you react towards this. You say, hold on a second and let me finish what I'm saying.
But
what you're doing is you're choosing to just throw it over the shoulders.
I have explained
to you. Say whatever you got to say, man.
I have explained to you why I don't worry about it. Now, the thing is, you're saying we are objectively.
It's inconvenient. It's inconvenient for your worldview.
No.
You're not going to be logically consistent now, but that's exactly what you're doing. Well, I can't solve the problem, so I'm going to throw it over my shoulder. That's what you're doing.
Ronnie, you're not listening. You need to try doing that instead of just speaking. What I'm saying is that if it is the case, I can do nothing about it. It doesn't serve me any purpose if I get bogged down in solipsism, because I am still experiencing a reality where I am, from my subjective viewpoint, experiencing other conscious minds and other things in this reality. So I have no choice but to shut up and listen. I have no choice but to continue as if the case is that there are other conscious minds, and that is how I deal with it, and it's not a problem for me because I don't worry about it because I have no option. So that is how I deal with it. I'm sorry it's not the answer you want, and I'm sorry you're having to try and rephrase it and trying to say that I'm not answering or not giving you the answer you want. But you previously said a moment ago we are objectively speaking to each other. How can you say that? How do you prove that we are objectively speaking to each other?
No, we got to go back to the. I'm not just going to let you make.
No, I want you to answer that question.
I'm going to answer it, but you're not going to make fallacious assertions like that and just slide through and get away with it. I'll answer that question.
No, explain to me what fallacious assertion you think I made there, Ron.
Alex, I'm going to respond to you if you shut up and let me respond to it. You just said that within your. Well, you got to shut up and let me talk. Then it's that simple. Don't try to rush past me. I'll be polite, okay?
Right.
Don't do that.
Let me just say something.
Okay.
You have been saying.
No. Hold on a second. I'm going to respond to the point that you made before you try to hurry up and get through and then question me after you made your statement. I'm going to respond to the point that you made.
You've now muted me 3 times.
The point that you made. Okay, because I got to respond to the point that you made. You're trying to get defensive and try to keep me from answering the question, and then you ask me a question with the point. Okay, so let me respond to the point. The point that you just made, you made an issue speaking of solipsism, and you were speaking that basically, we were speaking of solipsism, and you brought up the issue of minds. There's minds within your reality that you have to engage with. There's other minds. Well, prove that there are other minds within your reality that are, anything that you try to.
That's not what I said, though, is it? That's not actually.
What did you say?
I said that even if I am the only conscious mind in existence, I am experiencing a reality where I subjectively think that there are other conscious minds. And because that is the experience I am having directly, I have no choice but to interact with them as if they are real. So it makes no difference. The difference between that and them actually being there is negligible. So I assume that they are there because it does me no good and prevents me operating within my reality if I were to say, well, none of you exist.
Well, okay, so that
Because
the
it makes
issue
no
is so
difference to how I live.
the issue. No, it does make a difference how you live
Well, tell
because
me how it
me and you that are
how it
engaging
makes
right
a
here,
difference.
me and you that see, this is what you're doing. You keep on interrupting me, and then when I try to call you out on your crap, you get defensive.
Now you're
So
saying that
stop
what I'm
doing
saying is
that.
crap. You're not being very polite so far, Ronnie.
Well, why do you think I'm not being polite? Quit trying to
But
rush past me.
you've muted me 4
Quit,
times. You're not accepting my answers. You're speaking over me, and you
you
have
have
told me
to.
that what I'm saying is crap.
Well, because I got to
I
respond to
have
what
been,
you're
on the other
saying.
hand,
You're
very calm,
being
very
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 defensive.
polite. I'm not being
What do you
defensive though.
what
I'm actually
what have
very
you been doing
calm.
through this discussion? What have you been doing since the beginning of this
I've
discussion?
been answering your questions and trying to
No,
get you
you
to answer a
haven't.
couple of mine. Yes, I
Producing
have.
ad hominem attack towards me. You produced an ad hominem attack towards me. Oh, well, I'm just speaking gibberish because you didn't understand solipsism. That's what you
No,
did. That was the way
I
that you got away with it.
Ronnie.
And then you chose to not be logically consistent with what we were talking about. Then you tried to talk past me when I called that out. And then that's how this has been going.
Calm down,
You've been
Ronnie.
trying to keep me. You've been trying to keep me from calling you out in your crap. That's what you've
Calm
been
down,
doing.
Ronnie. Calm down. Now, do you remember?
Why do you keep saying calm down? Why do you keep saying
getting
that?
quite worked up. Now, I did say to you that solipsism was the impression that there are no other conscious minds. I clearly explained it to you, and now you're saying that I didn't. Now I did.
What did you explain to me? What did I respond to you?
One sentence.
Explain to me what you just said and how I responded to you.
I
What did
don't
I say
remember
to
how you
you?
responded to me because none of it actually passed into sentences that made
Okay,
sense.
what I said, and I'll say it again because I've said it a couple of times throughout this discussion. What you said was you basically didn't want to deal with the issue of solipsism.
No,
You
I
said
didn't
that
say that.
well, it doesn't matter. You said that it didn't matter. You said that it did. How about we replay what you said? How about we do that?
I said.
Okay. We'll replay what you said. No, because you're. Well, no, you'll. No. We don't need to. I'll replay what you said.
No, you
I'll
don't
replay
need
what you
to.
said.
I will find that incredibly
You're
rude
gonna
if you do that.
well,
I will
why?
tell you
Because
what
I'm
I
gonna.
said, Ronnie.
You're
Ronnie,
gonna find
what
it
I
very
said-
rude if I show you what you.
Well, I'll tell you what I said.
No,
I said that I
I'm gonna
have
show
no
what you
choice.
said. I'm gonna show you what you said because you're lying. We got it on video. I'll show you. I don't care what you got to say. I'm gonna show everybody what you did say.
That's 5
Yes,
times you've
you
now
are a
muted me.
liar. Yes,
You're
you
not
are.
calling me a liar.
And
Okay, go ahead.
you're a liar, and I'm gonna show it to you.
Okay,
I'm
go
gonna
ahead.
show it.
I'll be very
I'm
excited.
gonna show what was said.
Good for you. Are you going to get to it?
Yeah, when you shut up long enough for me to get to
Be
it,
quicker if I just told you.
you got to be quiet. I'm gonna find the spot. Actually, that clip's right there. Me calling you out and lying about me in the comment section. Go to another lie. Hold on.
I don't think this is particularly interesting for the viewers at the moment, is it? It would be far quicker if I just told you. It'd be far, far quicker if I just told you, Ronnie. I don't think anybody can hear what you're playing at the moment. Are you still there, Ronnie?
Of course, I'm here. Oh, give me a second.
Well, I couldn't tell. You'd gone silent for quite some time. Quite a lot of dead air there. It's far quicker if I just explain, which I've done several times already.
No, you haven't.
Yes, I have.
Well, you
I
have.
said,
Well, you
I
have.
have no
Well, you have.
choice
But
but to live.
I know you, Alex Bond. I've heard you talk before, and I know that you try to talk past things and twist
not trying
things
to talk
up.
past
So
it.
I'm not going to let you do it. I got you on video. It's better for me to do it here. Okay.
Well, we're still on video at the moment. You do understand that, don't you? By the way, I'm screen sharing how many times you've muted me so far.
Even the basis of science.
Why do you think the basis of science comes into question?
Well, why do you think that I'm talking about the issue of solipsism when I'm talking about science?
Well, I'm asking you to explain it. I'm asking you to explain why it's an issue, why you think that's a problem.
Well, do you know what? Well, you should know what the problem is if you know what solipsism is. I mean, you know what solipsism is.
It's cynicism of anything other than your own self-existing.
Well, okay. Well, if you're going to try to look at things from an objective standpoint, subjectively, and being anecdotal is going to come to the question. So, of course, if you're looking at from the standpoint that you're looking at science, especially from the belief system of atheism, if you can't solve the issue of solipsism, then what comes into question? You know, science itself cannot be falsified. It cannot be proven. There's a lot of issues when you're looking at science from a solipsistic standpoint.
But I'm not a solipsist, so that's irrelevant.
Yeah, you are.
Why do you assume I'm a solipsist?
You're an atheist.
Yes,
you are an atheist. And if you're not a solipsist, well, if you're not a solipsist, answer me how you can answer the problem of solipsism.
I don't have to because I don't see it as a problem.
Okay, so you don't have to. So basically, then you're just gonna ignore it. You don't have to.
Yeah, because I don't see it as
That's kind of what you.
What did you just say?
Okay, well, solipsism is an issue. If you don't know.
But I'm not a solipsist, so that's irrelevant.
Again, let's look
Yeah,
at
you
Why
are.
do you assume I'm a solipsist?
You're an atheist.
Yeah, but
Yes, you are an atheist. And if you're not a solipsist, well, if you're not a solipsist, answer me how you can answer the problem of solipsism.
I don't have to because I don't see it as a problem.
Okay, so you don't have to. So basically, then you're just gonna ignore it. You don't have to.
Yeah, because I don't see it as an
That's
issue.
kind of what you. Okay, well, solipsism is an issue. If you don't know,
it doesn't concern me. I don't worry about it because even if it were the case, it makes no difference to how I have to live my life. So I don't waste any time thinking about it.
Yes, it does because. Yes, it does because you don't live logically consistent with that. You try to be especially when you're trying to be in a debate and a discussion like this. I mean, you're going to cherry pick when you're going to be logically consistent and when it's convenient for you. Well, then when is it that I should take you?
What was the point of that, Ronnie?
What do you think the point was? The point was this.
The point was showing that
I'm going to respond. I'm going to tell you. See, you asked me what the point was, and then you start talking to keep me from telling you what the point is to be defensive. So let me explain.
I think the point to be defensive.
The points. Well, I think when you ask somebody a question and then you keep
Get
talking,
on with it, Ronnie.
answering the question, you're being defensive. So let me finish. The issue was clear. You gave me basically what I was stating from the beginning. You're stuck in a position of solipsism. You don't care because you don't find it as an issue. Who cares if me and you, independently from each other, we're not perceiving the things the same in each other's minds because we have independent minds from each other. Who cares? Because from your mind, you think that it's the case for me. So even if we're going to be having a discussion like this, doesn't matter because from your mind, you think that it's okay. So that's what it is. You're not going to choose to be logically consistent like we're doing now. That's from admission. Now I'm going to stop talking. This is how an adult discussion works. Watch. I'm going to finish talking. Now you get to talk.
Have you quite finished? Have you finished?
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The reason I ask you if you finished because your sentence construction is so poor, it's very difficult to tell. I have explained clearly to you why solipsism isn't something I concern myself with because If it is the case, I am still having an experience of other conscious minds existing. And because I am having that experience, I have no choice but to act as if those conscious minds exist. So the difference between if it being the case and not being the case is negligible. That is my answer. That has been my answer since the start. You know, you've heard me say it. When you played back that clip to try and prove otherwise, I actually said the same thing in it. So I don't know quite what your point was there. So I don't know why you're getting so hung up on this solipsism point. I've given you my answer. You're still muted. I can't hear you.
You're finished, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so the issue, you still haven't solved anything, even in your world of solipsism, because in your world of solipsism, where you are assuming the same way, as you're still not going anywhere with that, because how can you come into another man's... Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
How can you, even in your perception of reality, from your worldview, how can you look at anything from the same standpoint from another mind? How can you do that?
I think you're going to have to rephrase that so it can be understood. Rephrase the question.
An idiot. I'm sorry, man, but this is very simple. I am looking at things.
It isn't the way you describe things.
In your worldview, I'm looking at things as if they're blue. How do you look at things as if they're blue? How can you tell that I'm looking at the same color as you and perceiving it the same
Ronnie,
color?
if solipsism, let me explain. If solipsism is the case, then I am imagining you telling me that you see things as blue and that I see things as blue. If it isn't the case, you are telling me, a separate mind, that you see things as blue and I see things as blue. In both cases, I am experiencing through my senses what I believe to be another conscious mind telling me that he sees the colour blue.
Where's your...
Yes, I am.
No, it's not.
Don't keep on saying.
No, you're not, because even in your worldview, even when your worldview, you're looking at things from your mind. You're not looking at things from my mind, so you don't know what you're not making it. Well, okay, then you're still dealing with the issue of minds. You're not going anywhere with anything that you're saying. You're talking, but you're not saying anything. That's the problem here. It's like you don't understand what solipsism is. It's like you don't understand what we're talking about.
It's the belief that there are no other conscious minds. It's a single sentence. It's very easy to understand.
How can you tell the difference between another mind? Exactly. The mind independent from yours and your worldview. You are independent from my mind. From your worldview, from your standpoint, you're saying that all of this is from your perception. All of this.
Ronnie, let me go through it again. You're breaking up. Your microphone's breaking up.
Finish my point.
I couldn't hear you. Your microphone's breaking up.
Okay, but you got to listen, because I don't think that you're understanding what we're saying here. From your standpoint, Alex, from the subjectivity of what you're looking at things from, you are stating that it doesn't matter because you have to be consistent within your reality, from what you are viewing things, from the subjectivity of your reality. So in your reality, I'm in your reality talking right now. You're assuming, basically, that I'm, from my mind, that's consistent with your mind. Well, no, you don't know that, because you're looking at that from your mind. You're not outside of your mind. Listen, you're not outside of your mind to make any case that these minds are objectively perceiving things the same way. From the start, you are not going anywhere but an assumption that, well, who cares whether in my worldview anyways. It doesn't matter. You're not dealing with the issue of the minds. You're not going anywhere.
I've not made that claim. I mean, if you're going to just straw man, create a completely different argument to what I'm actually saying and then argue against it, do I actually even need to be here?
No one's strawmanning you. It's just you're not understanding what you're saying, so I'm trying to teach you what we're talking about while we're talking. That's the problem.
So you're now saying that I don't understand what I'm saying, and that you have to explain it to me.
I'm saying that I know that you don't understand what you're saying.
And I'm saying that I don't understand what you're saying.
I'm saying that I know that you don't understand what you're saying, and I'm saying that I know that what you're saying is inconsistent with how you're behaving in reality. You're sitting over here saying. Well, I can replay what you said again instead of you trying to talk
play
fast.
It again. Let me just go through it one more time so we can move on to the next part of where you want to go with this. Solipsism, as far as I understand it, is the belief that there are no other conscious minds. I am experiencing a reality through my... Are you listening, Ronnie? Because you don't appear to be. It's important that you listen to this.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, but I already know what you said earlier, so I don't know it's really not going to go anywhere. Go ahead.
Listen. Show some manners and listen.
I'm listening to you. Go ahead. Stop
Okay.
talking past me like that and just say what you got to say, man. Come on.
I'm not talking past you, I'm talking to you. There's a difference.
Say what you got to
Now,
say. Come on.
what I'm saying is that solipsism is the belief that there are no other conscious minds. My senses are giving me information that gives me the impression that there are other conscious minds. Now, one of two things is true in that case. Either solipsism is true, and I am merely imagining conscious minds in existence other than my own, or there are other conscious minds in existence. Now, given those two things, my senses are giving me the same information, so there's no change in the way I live based on either outcome. If there are no other conscious minds, I still experience conscious minds, so I live as if they exist. And if they do exist, then I am correct in that. And if they don't exist, then I am still consistent with the information my senses are giving me. Do you understand? Did you even listen to what I said? I asked you, did you understand what I just said?
I understand what you're saying about solipsism.
Okay.
I'm understanding what you're trying
Ronnie,
to say, but what you're not
Ronnie,
you're not understanding.
just for the sake of clarification, please explain back to me what I just said.
Well, everything that you just said about solipsism, you're saying basically, well, you're assuming things from your own perception.
No.
You're saying, I'm not wording it the same way, but everything from your own perception.
I want you to word it almost the same way. It was very simply worded.
You're assuming. Shut up, Alex, so that I can respond to you. Quit doing that. It's like you want to keep talking through me so that you can try to. You quit playing games with me, okay? We can have a civilized discussion, but you got to quit talking past me. You're basically talking about the issue of solipsism and how no one can be sure of one's own self, and basically the issue of as to whether or not one cannot be sure of the source of it.
Your microphone's cut out, Ronnie.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, that's basically what you're doing. So what is the point of what you're trying to say? How is that how are you not understanding that, the questions that I'm bringing to you?
You haven't actually explained what I just said to you. Tell me what I said solipsism was.
I just told you what solipsism was. I've been telling you what solipsism was since the beginning of this discussion.
Tell me.
I've been telling you what the issue of solipsism was since the beginning of
the sake of the argument. Humour me for the sake of the argument.
It is the idea.
Go on.
It is the idea that one's mind is sure to exist. That's what it is.
No,
what
that's
else are you
not
trying
what
to
I
get
said.
as?
Tell me what I said.
You're telling me that you don't care as to whether or not basically
that's not what I said, is it?
Your mind. You're asking me something that is independent from your mind. You don't care about that because you're viewing things from your own perception. That's what
I'm
you're
asking
saying.
you a very simple question. I'm asking you a very simple question because
Alex,
I want to make sure you understand.
What is the point of what you're trying to do here?
Because the point is because I want to make sure that you understand what I'm saying. Now, how did I describe solipsism?
Alex, you don't understand what. Alex, you don't understand what you're saying.
Why are you avoiding answering this question?
I just answered you the question. Hold on a second.
But you didn't actually say what I said. I'm asking you to tell me what I said.
This is going to stop. This is going to stop right here. I've been explaining to you. I got to mute you because you will not shut up long enough for me to give you an answer. And what you're doing is you're trying to just knock it off. The issue of solipsism is the issue of your own mind, assuming that that is the position to where you exist. I have explained this to you since the beginning of this discussion. I don't care what you said because you don't know what solipsism is. I'm teaching you what solipsism is. I'm telling you what solipsism. Shut up, Alex. I'm going to keep on muting you if you don't let me talk. You don't know what solipsism is, and I'm going to teach you what solipsism is. Solipsism is the issue of your own mind if you think that you know that you exist and you are unsure of those things outside of your own mind, which is the point as to why are we having this discussion independently from our subjective perceptions. Why is the point for us having this discussion? And you have failed to continue to answer that question. And when I press you on that question from the beginning of this talk, you have basically thrown it over your shoulder. Well, I have to be consistent within my own reality. Okay, well, even within your own reality, the inner solipsism of solipsism, you don't even know within your mind.
The inner solipsism of solipsism.
Which is within your own perception, which you are ignoring. Within yes, the inner side, you don't understand what I'm trying to say. I'm probably going to have to explain this to you again. Within your reality of what you're viewing things, you are still unsure of those minds independent from you. So even if you're looking at things from your standpoint, and I'm here from your standpoint, you are not sure, you are still unsure of my mind. Do you get what I'm saying? So the question comes back from the beginning. How do you know, under your view of solipsism, that I am perceiving reality the same way as you? You have gone no further than you haven't even lifted off the ground.
Are you finished?
Do you understand my problem with you right now?
So what you're saying, if I understand it correctly,
Yes,
is
answer the issue of solipsism.
the issue of solipsism is that if solipsism is the case, my senses are giving me information that is no different than if it is not the case. So to be consistent with what I'm experiencing, let me finish.
The issue of solipsism.
Are you not going to let me answer the question?
The issue of solipsism. The issue of solipsism is unsure outside of your own mind.
Are you?
How do you answer the issue outside of your mind? How do you answer the issue of solipsism?
What issue outside of my mind?
We have been on this since the beginning of the discussion. Quit dancing around it. How are we engaging in a rational discussion right now? How are you being consistent with your perception of reality? You're not. Because you are unsure of
what's outside of your mind. Let me explain that. Let me explain how I am being consistent having this conversation. If solipsism is the case, I am imagining you talking to me. If it isn't the case, you are actually talking to me. In both of those scenarios, my senses are telling me that you are talking to me.
You're not answering the question. Again.
Let me finish answering the question.
Again, you are answering
so to be consistent,
Alex, calm down. Alex, calm down. From your own mind, how are you looking at things outside of your mind? It's very simple. This isn't a complex question or gibberish. This is very simple for you to understand. You're looking at things independently of your mind. How do you answer that?
What the hell is that noise? You have to explain what you mean by looking at things independently of my mind. What do you mean by that?
Wow. So repeat what you just said.
I said you have to clarify what you mean by saying that I need to look at things independently outside of my mind. What do you mean by
There we go. And there we go right there. I knew you didn't know what solipsism was. You just asked me basically
what solipsism is. I'm asking you to clarify the question.
Why are you asking me that question? Huh?
You need to clarify what you mean by it. I'm asking you to clarify what you mean.
I'm going to screen share something for you guys, okay?
I don't want you to screen share. I want you to explain what you mean by that question.
I don't care what you want me to do. I don't care what you want me to do. This is the type of nonsense that I'm talking. From this whole discussion, you haven't understood what I've been saying. This is the reason why you're dancing around, not understanding why I'm telling you that you're being inconsistent. You just asked me what do I mean by being outside of the mind. So you just basically showed the point that you didn't understand solipsism.
No,
I'm going to expose you to so on.
That's now 9 times you've muted me.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly sure. Right here, look at. I just googled solipsism for you guys so that you guys can understand it, because you'll just talk past this. Wikipedia is where a lot of you atheists like to go. Solipsism, we'll go past that, is the philosophical idea that one's own mind is sure to exist. There you go, right here. As an epistemological position, solipsism holds that knowledge of anything outside one's own mind is unsure. Alex, repeat the question that you just sent to me.
I have said to you that solipsism is the belief that only your mind exists and you're the only conscious mind. How is that different from the definition you've just read out?
What did you just ask me, Alex? Don't dance around it. What did you just ask me?
I just said to you, how is what you've just read serving your point? Because it's actually matching what I've been saying solipsism is. So I asked you
the question, which was the point. That's the problem. What have I been asking you through this discussion, Alex? What have I been asking you throughout this discussion?
Well, considering you were almost incapable of actually stringing
What have I been asking you throughout this discussion? I don't want to hear your ad hominems again. What did I ask you throughout this discussion? Ad hominem
if it's true. Restate your question so it can be understood.
What did I ask you throughout this discussion?
Restate your question so that it can be understood.
You don't remember what I asked. What did you ask me just now?
Because it was gibberish and it didn't make sense. Now
okay, what you just said was gibberish. What did you just ask me just now?
What did I just ask you a moment ago?
What did you just ask me a moment ago before I showed this this little issue of solipsism?
I asked you to explain what you had meant about the sentence of experiencing minds outside of. It was some.
You asked me what did I mean. You asked me what did I mean by this mind outside of this mind. you're the one who's avoiding it. I'm calling you out of your nonsense. Throughout this whole discussion, at this point, we've just shown that you don't even understand solipsism. You don't even understand what you've been saying or I have been saying.
I told
You
you
would have
what
asked me that
solipsism
question.
was. And I told you
If
it wasn't something I bogged myself down in. Why are you so
Okay.
obsessed with it?
Well, let's replay what you just asked.
Let's not bother. Okay,
let's
go ahead.
I'm not upset. I'm trying to call you out on your BS.
Ronnie,
calling you out on your BS is not getting
Will you
upset.
do something for me? Will you do something for me, Ronnie? Listen, I'm asking you to do something for me. When you play this back, answer. I'm perfectly chill.
Okay, I'll push.
When you play this back, I want you to then answer the question that I ask you in the recording.
I'll answer the question now. I'll answer the question again. From the beginning of this discussion, you threw out the issue of solipsism. I asked you if you can solve the issue. Hold on a second. I just played it earlier. I brought up the issue of solipsism, and what did I ask you? So you got to calm down and listen to what I'm telling you.
I'm calm.
Because I think either you're screwing up here and you're not listening to what I'm saying, or you don't understand what we're saying. That's why you're screwing up.
Respond to my simple question.
The issue of solipsism. I'm going to answer your question.
I'd like you to.
The issue of solipsism. I answered this like 4 or 5 times throughout this discussion already. When you were speaking to me at the beginning of this discussion, we brought up the issue of solipsism. We were trying to bring up what argument. I asked you what arguments you want to present here. I said, do you want to talk about intelligent design? Do you want to talk about solipsism? Or do you want to talk about the issues of the Bible? And then he said, oh, well, what are your issues with solipsism? I said, well, can you start a basis on even science if you're stuck under the position of solipsism, and how can you deal with the issues of your own mind? Subjectively independent from each other's minds, how could we have some sort of discussion like this independently from each other? How is that inconsistent with reality? Oh, well, you basically said, well, no, you don't have to, you don't care. And you threw it over your shoulder, and I called you out on you being inconsistent in what you're viewing. This is basically what I've been trying to narrow down on you. Now we've come full circle to this discussion, to this point right here, and you asked me a question, which is like you didn't understand what I was saying, which was the point of solipsism, therefore showing you didn't even understand what solipsism was. So I'm going to go back to the question. I'm going to go back to the question that you just asked right now, and it's going to show exactly what I've been suspecting throughout this discussion. Because you're just going to talk past it and try to slide through it, and I'm not going to deal with that. I don't want to have a yelling match, and that's what it seems like you're trying to take this. You have to give me a moment because I'm going to have to scroll through it. So it's going to take me a couple minutes. Yes, of course, I'm still there. I'm looking for something. I'm looking for the clip. Give me a minute. Hold on now, so I'm scrolling through it right now. Just taking a little bit of time to load because it's okay.
To be outside of my mind. What do you mean? There we go. And there we go right there. I do it.
Come on.
You know, a lot of you just like to go. So, clarify what I'm going to screen share something for you guys. Okay? I don't want you to screen share. I want you to explain.
Have you got the clip, Ronnie?
You have to explain by looking at things independently of my mind. What do you mean by that? Wow, that's quite repeat what you just said. You have to clarify what you mean by saying that I need to look at things independently outside of my mind. What do you mean? There we go. And there we go.
Again, just to clarify, just in case people forgot what we were talking about, solipsism is what it is. It is a philosophical idea that one's mind, his own, is sure to exist. It's an epistemological position. Solipsism holds that knowledge of anything outside of one's own mind is unsure. The external world and other minds cannot be known. And, that's basically what it is. So that's basically what you just said. You basically defied the obvious, and anybody who should have known about what solipsism is should have known what I was talking about with that question. The question was very clear. How can you know something independent from your own mind? And if you're going to be inconsistent with that, like the issue that we're talking about here, we're having this discussion, independent mind, even if you're going to be talking about it, doesn't matter from your worldview, you're sure of your own existence, even within your own existence. We're having a discussion from independent minds within your own existence. I mean, you still can't be sure of that.
Let me explain to you.
Let me put my headphones in. Yeah, because I don't think you guys heard me good enough. Because it was the issue of solipsism. Okay, well, that's basically what the issue of solipsism is.
Okay.
Your question defied that. You should have understood what I was saying. So
what I said, let me explain. Give me time to explain, please.
Take the floor.
What I said, that was solipsism was the belief that nothing outside of your own mind exists and no other conscious minds exist. Now, you asked me to say, if solipsism is the case, how do I look at things independently outside of my mind? I explained to you that my senses, even if solipsism is the case, are giving me the impression of a reality where other minds exist. Mm-hmm. So I act as if they do. Now, would you say that this question of how to look at things independently outside of your mind exists if solipsism isn't the case? Does that problem exist if solipsism isn't true?
I think you're missing the point again, Alex.
I've just asked you a straightforward question.
I
asked you a straightforward question, Ronnie. Just answer the question. Does that problem that you have posited, does it affect anything if solipsism isn't the case?
The point is, Alex, the point is what did you just say just now to what we were talking about? It doesn't matter what your own feelings about it is. I can't let that slide, man.
What slide? You've gone quiet again. I can't hear you. Still can't hear you.
All right, can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, yes.
It doesn't matter from your own standpoint or from what your feelings are, Alex. The point is still here, and this point is still defining what you're asking here. Solipsism means something specifically.
Yes,
knowledge of your own self, knowledge of your own self. Knowledge of your own self. You are sure of your own existence, but that of you outside of your own existence, minds of your own existence outside of your own existence cannot be known for sure to be the case. So, the question that you asked me just now when we were talking with each other defied that. When you were speaking right now and you asked me about things from your own personal opinions or your own personal feelings about something, doesn't matter. The issue is still there. We are having a discussion, even if we're looking at things from your own view, Alex. And I keep on explaining this to you from your own view.
You've disappeared altogether.
Irrational discussion to look for an objective truth, right? But from your own mind, you cannot solve that issue.
You broke up.
It's still coming back to that, and you still have not dealt with that issue of minds outside of your mind. You still have not done that.
I want you to answer this question for me, though, Ronnie.
You're still dealing with the issue of mind outside of your mind, Alex, and we're not.
Yes, and that's what I'm doing. I'm dealing
okay, well, go ahead. Ask me the question.
Be quiet and let me ask the question. Okay? You've broken up again. I can't hear you. But that's probably good because I actually want to be able to speak. I'm asking you to tell me, if solipsism isn't the case, is there a problem with me experiencing minds other than my own? Yes or no? You broke. I can't hear you.
You're asking me if solipsism wasn't the case, would there be an issue with minds being known outside of our mind?
Yes,
well,
that's what I'm asking. Yes or no?
Well, I think that when you're without solipsism, what do you think the points would be? Yeah, the issue of solipsism. Yeah, the issue of solipsism is you don't know things outside of your own mind. So yeah,
we understand what solipsism is, Ron. There's no point going over it again. Answer the question I'm asking you.
Don't, because you wouldn't have asked me that question.
Would that question be relevant? If solipsism
was solved, then guess what? Solipsism would be solved, so we could know things outside of each other's mind.
So we could. So just let me just clarify so the listeners can hear. You have just said that if solipsism isn't an issue, if it was solved or it wasn't an issue, that there is no problem of knowing minds outside of your own mind. Is that correct? You're nodding and saying yes, yeah? I can't hear you. Are you nodding? You've broken up again. You need a better headset.
Hear me?
I can hear you. Now, let me just clarify.
Yes, the point
so you're saying there would be no problem?
Alex, hold on a second, man, because this is getting to be nonsense. Solipsism means something specifically. And I'm trying to answer your question. You have to be quiet, okay? You're not just going to overtake. You're not going to dominate this discussion. Listen to me.
So far,
Alex, listen to me. Alex, listen to me. You're defying the question with the obvious. If you understood solipsism, you wouldn't answer me the question, because solipsism is the issue of being unsure or having knowledge outside of your own mind.
I know what solipsism is. I told you this half an hour ago.
Of course, all you did what you did was you asked me a question which proved wrong your assertions. That
no, I told you straight out what solipsism was.
So the issue. No, you didn't. Solipsism specifically means something.
About 8 or 9 times.
So you wouldn't have asked me the question, because the question is defying the obvious.
This is going somewhere.
Do you understand?
Humor me and answer my question.
That's what you got to say then. Come on. If you're going to take this somewhere, actually take it somewhere.
Humor me and answer my question. If solipsism is not an issue, is there a problem with knowing minds independent of my own? Yes or no?
You're going to have to be a little bit more in depth with that, man.
Because
of course you
calm down, Ronnie.
Your question of solipsism is, of course, answering the question. Alex,
Ronnie, we're talking in a hypothetical here. I just want you to answer the question.
I understand that. Alex, listen to me.
Let me ask
you. You're questioning me of solipsism. You're questioning, I'm trying to give you an answer. You have to be quiet. Your question of solipsism, of course, if there wasn't an issue of minds outside of our own minds, so what we could know, minds outside of our own minds, would prove minds outside of our own minds. So here's the issue. Here's the issue, Alex. Okay, again, so you're not understanding what you're saying. I'm going to screen share this again so that you understand what I'm trying to get at.
Screen share it again. Listen, I want to ask you a question, and I want you to answer.
Alex, again, solipsism is the philosophical idea that only one's own mind is sure to exist. As an epistemological position, solipsism holds that knowledge is anything outside one's mind is unsure of the external world. So, of course, if solipsism wasn't an issue, then there wouldn't be an issue with anything out of one's own side or mind, or being unsure of things outside of the mind.
So,
it's that simple.
Okay, so that's great. Now, let me just explain this.
The question answers itself if you knew what we're talking about.
Let me explain where I'm going with this, Ronnie. I said right at the beginning that my senses give me information that give the impression, if solipsism's the case, they give me the impression that there are other conscious minds. I also said that that is, from my subjective viewpoint, no different from there being actual conscious minds.
Again, you're not
You have
understanding
just
what you're
let me finish. You have just
I will.
said that if there are other conscious minds, there is not an issue. Do you see where I'm taking that?
Exactly, and nothing inside of those subjective minds, from you're looking at, from your worldview,
Did
you
you
can be
understand
unsure.
anything that I just said to you?
From your own sure, I understand perfectly. Inside
No,
of
you
your
don't, do you?
worldview,
Really?
inside of your worldview, you're saying that there are minds inside of your worldview. That's what your
I am
perception of reality.
listen.
That's what you're
I
saying.
am whether
Alex, Alex,
solipsism is the
listen to me.
case
I'm
or
trying to.
not.
If you want me to answer, I'm going to answer your question. Okay? I'm going to see. This is what you do. Whenever somebody tries to answer your question, you try to talk past them. I'm going to answer it. You ask me a question, let me answer it. The issue of solipsism, of what you just said right now, and what you just said was because from your feelings and from your perception, there are other minds in your own view.
No,
That's
not
what you
what
just
I
said just now.
No, that's not what I said.
That is exactly what you just said. You just said from your own worldview, there are minds inside of your worldview.
I said.
In your perception of reality, there are minds.
I said that my senses, if solipsism is the case, I said that my senses are giving me information that leads me to believe there are other minds in existence, whether that is the case or not. And the difference between that and other minds actually being existent.
And then the question since the beginning of this discussion, how do you know these minds independent from their minds? And then the question since the beginning of this discussion, how do you know that these other minds independent inside of your worldview are objectively perceiving the same things as you? You don't. Well, you answer that question already.
How do I know that they are objectively? How explain to me how a mind objectively knows that another mind is experiencing the same thing as.
That's the point. Answer the issue of solipsism. I'm telling me the issue. This is your problem and your issue. The burden of proof is on you. You're the one who has to deal with the issues of your worldview. That's the problem here. The issues are in your perception. See what you're doing here. Hold on a second. What you're doing here is you're making a mess. You're bastardizing philosophy. So let me speak, please.
You're accusing me of bastardizing philosophy.
You aren't. That's exactly what I'm accusing you of doing throughout this discussion. What have I been doing throughout this discussion, Alex? What have I been doing throughout this discussion?
You're about to mute me for the.
Throughout this discussion, I have asked you one thing consistently, and we've been speaking about the issue of solipsism. When speaking about the issue of solipsism, no, you don't understand what solipsism is, Alex. Stay quiet long enough for me to answer. Come on, you're getting ridiculous already. Throughout this discussion, I have consistently and repetitively asked you the same question over and over and over again. How do you solve this issue of solipsism of minds independently from your own mind? How are you going to objectively perceive things to be the same way from your subjective standpoint? Okay, so we got minds independently from each other. You cannot be unsure of minds outside of your own mind. But you're saying within your reality, within your view of reality, these things are the same, you're saying. Within your view of reality, these things, there are minds inside of your view of reality. Okay, so within your view of reality, there are minds inside of your view of reality. The question is still remaining. How do you know that these minds independent from you are objectively perceiving the same things as you? So you're being inconsistent with your view of reality. Do you understand that? So me and you are in your view of reality. You can be sure of your own mind, and in your own mind and your own perception of reality, I am in your view of reality. So how do you solve the issue of my mind and your mind objectively seeking an objective truth? You can't. You don't know what's inside of my mind. The problem is still there, and you're not wanting to be logically consistent with your view to deal with what you're stating.
So are you now saying that the problem is because I don't objectively know what's in your mind?
I will give you the floor after you let me finish what I'm trying to say to you. Because again, solipsism means something specifically. You are sure of your mind existing, but there's a problem with minds outside of your own mind. So if there is a problem with things outside of your own mind, there's a problem when you're trying to be consistent and logically consistent when we're having a rational discussion on this part. And what you're basically saying is, well, no, I don't need to know that because I already know things for myself and I'm viewing things from my own worldview. It's a fallacious approach. So go ahead and say what you're going to say. The questions are still here from the beginning of this discussion. Throughout this discussion, you basically been refusing to be logically consistent.
I'm saying that the problem is, the question I now have to answer is, how do I objectively know what other minds are thinking? Is that what you're saying? Are you listening to me, Ronnie?
I was very clear, Alex. What have I been telling you? Repeat to me what I've been saying.
As I say, I don't know, because
Alex, what have I been saying to you?
you've been saying a whole lot of
Alex, what have
nonsense.
I been saying to you?
As I say, you've been saying a whole lot of gibberish.
No, because this is
You've
an
been saying to me,
anomaly too.
how do I look at things
This is a
independently
deflect
outside of
of
my
your
mind,
refutation.
is what you've been
It's not
saying.
gibberish. It's not no, Alex, here's what the issue is. The issue is this. Again, see, you don't know what solipsism is. Solipsism means something specifically. Something specifically, right? Again, what does it mean? You know of your own mind, and you can be sure of your own mind existing, but those minds outside of your mind, how do you know that those other minds are perceiving the same thing as you when we're having a rational discussion? We're not being consistent with what you're saying. So you can be sure of your own mind, right? And through your side of your view, you're saying that there are other minds inside of your worldview, right? That's what you're stating. So inside of your worldview, there are other minds. Well, okay, then how you're still inside of an issue of solipsism? You don't know if those minds are perceiving the same thing as you. You have not solved the issue of solipsism. The issue is the same. The issue is still here, and it's been here this whole time. The problem is that what you're basically doing is you can't solve your issue of solipsism, so you're just trying to, I don't know, play games.
I've not said that I can experience what other minds are thinking and that I can objectively say what they are experiencing.
I know
You
that.
just pulled that. So why are you saying that I've said that?
I know that. We're speaking of the
If
issue.
I can accept.
You cannot solve the issue of solipsism and you don't care. And you're choosing to be cherry picking and not to be consistent. And you're choosing to cherry pick and not be consistent with your view of reality.
In what way am I cherry picking? Do you know what cherry picking is?
I know what cherry picking is. You're
Tell me what cherry picking is.
You're conveniently taking things out that are convenient for you in the discussions in this moment right here, because you have an issue of solipsism. You don't want to solve the issue of solipsism.
I explained to you, Ronnie. Listen.
You didn't, no, Alex.
You've got one mouth and two ears. There's a reason for that.
Alex, you're going to have to learn, because I'm trying to teach you something there. Solipsism means something specifically. Minds independent from your own mind, you cannot be sure of existence. So we're having a discussion right now that you will not be consistent with in your reality. I mean, do I have to dumb this down even more for you? How do you not comprehend that I am a mind independent from your mind? And that's not being consistent with your issue of solipsism. I mean, you got to know what solipsism is to understand what we're talking about here. I mean, I don't know if you're playing dumb, you're just trying to annoy me. I mean, speak. Explain if you know what you're talking about.
Ronnie, I have explained to you several times now.
No, you haven't. The question is still here. There are minds outside of your own mind, so you're being inconsistent with your worldview. That's the point. I'm here. You're talking. You just told me in your worldview just now. You just told me in your worldview that there were minds outside of your mind. Are you denying? You're going to take back that statement.
But if solipsism's the case, you don't exist.
Exactly.
So prove to me that you do.
If solipsism is the case, you have your mind that you're assuming that things are the case.
No, I've asked you a question. I've asked you to do something.
And I asked you the question. I answered you the question. Alex, you're not talking past me. Alex, you're not talking past me. In your worldview, if you're going to play this game with me, the burden of proof is on you. You said under your issue of solipsism, there are minds outside of your mind, so that was somehow supposed to be a response to the point that I was making towards you of solipsism, showing that you didn't understand the issue, because solipsism, you know that you exist, right? Outside of your mind, you don't know, you can be unsure, or you don't know what is outside of your mind. So that statement right there is still here. You haven't gone anywhere with what you're stating. You have to prove that these minds. You have to prove that these minds don't exist, Alex. The burden of proof is on you.
If solipsism's the case, they don't. So prove to me that you're saying that I'm suffering from solipsism. Prove to me that you exist.
This rational discussion that we're having right now is proof that there is minds outside of my mind.
But if solipsism,
so you're saying that you don't exist. You're saying that you don't exist.
No. If solipsism's the case, I'm the only thing that exists.
I just proved that here now. So if solipsism is the case and I'm not here, then prove it.
If so, I have explained to you that I experience.
answer me the question.
I've told you that I'm not a solipsist.
You are a solipsist. And if
I
you're
told
not
you
a
right at the
solipsist,
start that I wasn't a solipsist.
you told me that you're not a solipsist, and I told you that you are a solipsist because you're an atheist. So then you deflected and said, well, you don't
Being
care.
a solipsist and
You
being
then
an atheist is
deflected,
not
Alex.
the same.
Alex, you then deflected and tried to throw it back on me by saying, oh, well, I don't care. And I've been trying to pinpoint you on this throughout this discussion. If you don't care about being consistent with your view of reality, then you're choosing to be logically consistent when it's convenient for you. Who cares about the fact that there are two independent minds, even if it's in your worldview or your own perception of things, and you're assuming that these minds just exist. You can't be sure if these minds really exist, but they're in your view of reality. Who cares, because these minds are independently from each other, right? Who cares? I mean, you think that it's the case. It doesn't matter. That's the problem here. You're not being logically consistent, man.
Ronnie, I am being logically consistent because I have told you that my senses, whether solipsism is the case or not, are telling me that other minds exist. So because my senses are telling me that, I have no choice but to continue as if they do and to interact with those minds. Now, if solipsism is the case, you need to prove to me that you exist. Can you do that?
Yes.
How?
I'm talking to you right now.
So solipsism isn't the case.
Solipsism is the case for you under your worldview. You don't
No,
believe
hang
there's
on
an
a
absolute
second.
source of truth.
So
No,
you just
hold on a
said to me
second. No, because you're not going to do this, Alex. You're not going to do this.
You've not let me finish a single sentence.
Alex, you've been leading questions throughout this discussion. I've been letting you speak this whole time. You said a lot, and I'm going to speak. The issue is this. There's a lot of issues here under solipsism. I'm going to have to teach you and explain these things to you because you don't understand anything that we're saying. Even the issue of solipsism. I mean, from every angle that we look at this, let's look at it from an evolutionary standpoint, for example. We were just a product of evolution. There are minds independent from evolution, and every mind is the product of inherited traits that from their ancestors. They just inherited the traits through their predecessors. So that's the issue of each and every independent mind. How do you know that each and every mind has inherited each mind is going to be the product of the chemical reaction to their mind? How do you know that the traits that you've inherited outside of my own mind are accurately perceiving the reality around you, independently from your own and independently from mine? How do we know that? We don't.
I've made no claims.
Inherited traits, Alex. No, because this is where the mess has been.
They do.
This is where the mess has been coming. What did you just say?
I said I've made no claim that they do.
I know, you're being careful not to state anything, but I don't need you to state anything because the consistency of your reality comes into question.
Make a point in the next 5 minutes or the conversation's over.
The points are coming into question. Alex, I've made the points over and over and over again. You've been refuted from
made a single coherent point.
Alex, it's very clear. The points are very, very clear. And I'm going to repeat myself again. I'm going to be very clear on what I say right now. If you cannot understand what I'm saying, that is not my problem. That is yours. And then, because there's other things that I want to talk to you about. And this is just a mess. This is ridiculous that you don't understand what solipsism is. Solipsism means something specifically, and I'm going to try to take a little bit of time to talk about this. Solipsism means
you've had over an hour. You're not getting much more than that.
Exactly, Alex. You have to understand. You have to understand. Okay, you're not understanding what I'm saying, and you're dancing around the issue. Solipsism means minds outside of your own mind, okay? That you have an issue with minds outside of your own mind. My mind, from where I'm looking at,
Wait a second. So you just said solipsism meines minds outside of my own mind. That's the opposite of what it means.
Alex.
You just said solipsism.
I mean, you've got to be one of the stupidest people I've talked to. I'm telling you, you're acting up. Seriously, shut up, dude. Solipsism means something specifically, and I read to you what solipsism was because the question that you raised me showed that you didn't understand what solipsism was, Alex.
At the beginning.
Alex, no, it didn't match what you were saying from the beginning because from the beginning I've been asking you the question is how can you answer the question of minds outside of your own mind? And you've danced around it this whole time. You've danced around it this whole entire time.
Ronnie, you have made almost no sense for over an hour.
Because you're an idiot and you don't understand what I'm saying.
Okay, well, if you think I'm an idiot, there's no point in me speaking to you, is there? And you'll just have to call a the hangout.
Obviously not.
Hangout?
Huh?
Are you going to finish the hangout then?
No, I'm not going to finish the hangout. There's going to be people coming in. But we need to continue this discussion right now. We need to continue this discussion because there's a lot of nonsense that I need to call you out on. Alex, are you there? Don't run from the discussion, man. I have you in here, man. Alex, where are you? Alex? Okay, so here's what the issue is, man. There's a specific meaning for solipsism. Solipsism means that you can be sure of your own existence, but there's an issue with knowledge or being sure of minds outside of your own mind. From the beginning of this discussion, what me and Alex have been trying to talk about is we brought up the issue as to whether or not you can understand the standpoint of solipsism from the issue of from his standpoint, or from dealing with the issue of basically science and how could you have a basis of perceiving things objectively from a scientific standpoint if you're stuck under the issue of solipsism and you can't solve the issue of solipsism. Yeah, I don't know, guys. I don't know if he left. Alex, are you here or not, man? Alex, did you seriously just run away, man? Come on.
Ronnie, just to make it clear, I'm not actually listening to you at the moment, and I've been muting my mic. It's just because I'm not going to leave the Hangout until you finish it, because I don't want you saying to anybody that I just left the Hangout. As I said, you haven't made any sense throughout this, but I'm just going to leave my mic muted.
Well, I'm sorry.
And,
you should have told me. Alex, you should have told me. You should have told me. You should have told me. You should have told me before you
have to finish the Hangout, so you can't.
Told me. Alex,
if I do need any listeners, that's because he's kicked me. Okay.
No, I'm not gonna. I promise, guys, I'm not gonna kick this guy. I will not kick him. Alex, you should have told me before we were dealing with the issue of solipsism. If you didn't know what solipsism was, you should have kept it going, man. Because solipsism means something very specifically, and going outside that or dancing around that. And I can see why so many people have a problem with it. If you don't know what solipsism means, don't argue about solipsism. It's that simple. Don't argue about solipsism. I'm gonna leave it at this right now. Because I don't really think they're going to take it any further than that. I think that we're just going to dance around that issue. What do you want to talk about, Alex? The issue of the Bible, or do you want to talk about the issue of science? So you're just going to stay in this room and not answer me. That's how you're going to get through this. I mean, so you don't want to run. You just want me to kick you. But you don't want to talk to me anymore.
Also, remember, Ronnie, you did agree that this Hangout would be one-on-one. So whilst I remain in it, it has to be. Otherwise, you're
exactly.
Alone.
Exactly. So you're going to have this discussion with me or not? So are you guys seeing this? This is how this guy is going to get away from me. He's going to try to stay in this room, and if I let anybody in, what he's going to do is he's going to lie and try to twist it and say, oh, well, I was letting people in. He didn't agree to that. No, you've just been refuted in every point, and this is your only defense mechanism. Quit being a coward, man. Come on, Alex. You sissy boy. You're right here. Alex. It won't hurt that much, man. Come on, you should just respond, man, to something, all right, dude? Alex, come on, dude. I'll be gentle, I promise. Oh, crap, I promise. So, Alex, you're going to run away. This is your slick way of running away from me. Seriously? Why are you so scared of me, dude? Come on. Respond to me, dude. Why are you so scared? Okay. All right, Alex. Okay, guys, so Alex doesn't want to have this discussion anymore. I guess it's over. He's a coward. He's afraid that I'm going to press the questions with him. make him look bad. So I guess I don't know. What do you guys think to do? Should I kick him out? We talk about this a little more. All right, fine, Alex. Well, I've never seen anybody do this, man. I've never seen anybody lie through the comment section to get away from me. I've never seen anybody just stay quiet and mute themselves because they were afraid of getting hit, you know, or afraid that they're going to be pressed more and look bad. But okay. This is the cowardly tactics you want to play, Alex? Then fine, we can do that. Sissy boy coward. Come on. All right, goodbye, guys.